Hey there. So my next guest has a gaming podcast. He has a gaming YouTube channel. He's got a Twitch stream and he's all about the gamer life and he's still in high school. So if you're sitting there like, I'm too young, this one will blow it out of that excuse out of the water. Here's one for you. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today I have a very special guest with us. I have Malcolm Schiewer. Hey there, Malcolm. How's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's nice out here too.
All right, where are you at?
I live in Toledo, Ohio.
I'm so sorry.
Why is that?
I lived in Akron for 9 years, so it's just I know what it's like out there. Okay, so Malcolm, I like getting this show started, just getting right into it. So could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, for one thing, I'm 17, and I have been working on Twitch, podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff. I'm a senior in high school right now, so just started off my year, and I play a lot of video games.
Very cool. All right, so I want to talk about all of that because, I definitely want to talk about what you're doing with your podcast, what you're doing with your streaming and all of it. Before I do that, I start every interview with a single question, so I'm going to ask you, just like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Malcolm?
Gotta give it a solid 7 or 8, probably.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, if you look at pretty much any of my YouTube videos where I'm playing with my friends, that should pretty much explain it. We can have some very weird conversations. We'll go to very strange and outlandish topics, make same strange, outlandish jokes as well. So yeah, we're all over the place with that stuff.
I'm right there with you. When I was in law school, my best friend and I were sitting at this table just in the lunchroom, and all these other people were coming to listen to us just go at each other, right? And it just so happened that day on campus, they had a film crew in order to film like the student body and whatnot. And so here my friend and I are, and it's rated X, like it's well beyond R, the conversation we were having. And they're like, can we film you? And we're like, I don't think you want to. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and also just being in high school, that automatically leads to weird conversations, whether or not it is us who started them.
Absolutely. Okay, so Malcolm, this is the Gamerpreneur, and you've told me you're a video game fanatic, but when did you first start playing?
I'd say there were like multiple periods of time where I've like started playing. Like obviously I played games when I was a lot younger. Like I liked the Lego Star Wars Clone Wars games a lot. And I played a little bit of Portal, even though I did not understand how the puzzles worked at all when I was that age. But I never was really like, that wasn't really the thing I liked to do. That was kind of just another activity for me. I really started getting into gaming when I actually moved to Virginia for about 4 years. And I had some friends there, one of which had a PlayStation, one of which had an Xbox. And it was Halo that got me really hooked. And my friends and I would always play in like these custom game, and just mess with each other, or like Forge mode, we would build stuff. And then what really got me interested was the story of Halo. But my friends were not very story oriented within games, but that is what captured me into video games, is stories.
I love it. All right, so you've been playing since. What do you play now?
I have a lot of games. One game that I have been playing a lot recently is Ghost of Tsushima. Just came out recently, and is honestly probably my favorite game at the moment.
It's the best Assassin's Creed game they've ever made yet.
By a different company.
No, I love that game. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Like in terms of graphics, like I think back to, no offense, when I was your age, I guess it's offense against me, not you. Anyway, When I was your age, 17, I think that's roughly around when the first Assassin's Creed was coming out. I look back on that and like it was nowhere near as good looking. So.
Oh yeah, I'm going through on Twitch right now. I'm doing like an Assassin's Creed series, and I recently, before I started playing Ghost of Tsushima, I 100%ed the very first Assassin's Creed game, and I was very impressed with how good it was for being coming out in like I think 2007.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it. I tried. There's just too many flags. There's too many flags, too many little Templars I gotta go find and kill.
I say I'm a big achievement hunter in games. Like that's what my Twitch stream is all about, is me like literally hunting down collectibles and achievements and stuff like that. So it's it was grueling and it took a while, but it was fun.
Tell me about your content creation. So you have the stream, you've got podcast, like what are you creating? Because like the fact that you're still in high school is a big deal, right? A lot of people don't even consider doing any of this stuff until a little bit later in life.
So I've always wanted to have like a YouTube channel just because it's like I watched YouTube and I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could do this stuff. But I never had the equipment and I could never really figure out how to do this stuff because I never really had someone to teach me or anything. But 2 years ago, I was going through a pretty like hard phase. And my dad had just started a podcast. And so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. I'll see if that's like, that gives me something to do. Cause it was summer. So I was like super bored and I didn't know what to do. So I started it, and at first I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Cause I reviewed, I did like a, kind of like I call it a what we know, what I do in my podcast, where I look at game trailers and released notes about a new game that's going to be coming out in the future. And I did an episode about that for the Division 2, which has been released, which wasn't released yet. And I never actually posted that video or that episode. But that was kind of how it started. It was me and my friends sitting in this crappy office that we have upstairs that has terrible acoustics in it, with this like $40 mic and my Mac. And it started from there. And then last summer I started more on my YouTube channel, where I started uploading like Rainbow Six Siege videos, was the majority of it. And then I tried doing walkthroughs, but I ended up deleting them. And then this summer I started Twitch. So, and then, like I said, I hunt achievements on my Twitch stream. So
very cool. So you were roughly 15 when you started, and instead of doing drugs like a typical teenager, you decided to make podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay. How's it going? How you got the YouTube, you got the podcast, you got the stream. How's it all going?
I hit like it was going very well, and I kind of hit a wall when the coronavirus started. I don't know what it really was, but I kind of started to lose like motivation for stuff. So my podcast slowed down. I wasn't releasing as much. I have barely released anything on YouTube. I have recently started a new series on there though. And Twitch, since it's like all I have to do is hit one button and then play a video game, that has been easy to keep up with. But it's the stuff that requires like editing and more time that has been harder for me to do. But by far my podcast is the most popular out of the three things. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about your podcast. Cause obviously you started with an episode you never even released, and now where are you at?
So now I try to do a weekly podcast, where I review either game updates or game reviews in general. Cause I'm a big variety game player. Like I buy almost every AAA title game that comes out, and even some smaller games that come out. And then I'll review them on my podcast. And if I don't have anything to review, like if I don't have any video games or updates to review, I'll like do these things I call gaming discussions, where I choose a topic. So one thing where we did like the math and in general had a discussion about like how important headshots were in games and how some games it wasn't worth it, or so we do different things like that, and it's really fun. It's really fun to do. And I used to do it all the time with my friends, but obviously there's a problem with that now. So yeah.
I love it. Okay. So you said this is the most popular platform you have used your podcast. Part of the purpose of my show is to show other gamers that they can do these things, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're sitting at home and they never even considered starting a podcast, but here they are listening to you. And they're like, oh, hey, if he can do it, maybe I can do it too. What advice do you have for somebody to decide if they wanted to start something like this?
Some advice that I would give that I'm not very good at doing myself, but so I'm going to make sure that other people don't dig themselves in the same rabbit hole, is getting on a good schedule. For the most part, I can follow it, but sometimes I can't. Like either I end up with free time and then I lose track of time, or I end up with more work than I was expecting to have, and then all of a sudden I have to change my schedule around, and then everything gets messed up. But I think a schedule is very useful for this stuff, and then also just consistency. Like if you're not consistent, then you start to lose consistent listeners or viewers or anything like that.
Okay. Can I ask why? Like I give that same advice myself to my audience, right?
Yeah.
Why is it so important that you're consistent? Why is it so important to have this schedule?
So people will, if they know that you come out every single, like I'm changing from Mondays to Sundays just because school started up with me again, and it's easier to do it over the weekend. So if I'm releasing every single Sunday, then people are able to go back and know that there's a new episode out at that time, instead of having to check every once in a while to see if there is an episode out or not. And so it allows for people like who might drive their car to work on Monday mornings or something like that. They know that my episode just released the previous night and are able to listen to it on their way to work or something like that.
Fantastic. Okay. What's your demographic? Who is listening to you?
I think it's fairly wide demographic. I haven't like really looked into it too much. I've tried to figure it out, but like I said, it's a fairly wide range. I mean, I've had it's mostly like, I'd say like 10-year-olds. I think 10-year-olds are rare, but that's kind of the beginning of the range, to like mid 30s. And then I obviously get people that are all over the place still on that. It typically is more on the younger side of that. And it's obviously gamers and stuff like that as well. But I think it is people who have like college or work to go to. And so instead of watching a video review, they're able to listen to a podcast review. So they're able to just listen instead of watch.
Okay. And do you take that into account when making your content, or you just make your content and hope they enjoy it?
That's mostly where I mostly try to focus on the demographic when it comes to my social media stuff. But when it comes to my podcast, I try to keep the same consistency with that, with my podcast as well. I don't think I really target it to anyone. And I honestly don't think I even really know how to target it to someone specifically in an episode. So if I am targeting it to someone, then I have no clue who I'm targeting it to. So,
okay. So Malcolm, you got started way, way younger than most people do. And you're having a lot more success than a lot of people. The fact that you're actually having people listen to you is kind of a big deal in this space, right? Because there's millions of people creating content and nobody's watching. What makes you different? What is it? A unique skill? Is it your personality, your presence? What's special about you?
So I was thinking about this. And I've had people talk to me that I am a very confident speaker, and I'm engaging to listen to as well. Like people who have visited my Twitch say they really like listening to me because maybe their focus gets pulled away. Same thing with my podcast, not just my Twitch, but that's been the more recent feedback. But like they might start focusing on something else, and then I will say something or start talking that will re-engage them in what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. And I've also heard people say that I'm good at just explaining things and giving examples. So I think overall it's mainly my ability to have people understand what I'm saying and the confidence that I say it at. So it makes them feel like they can understand what I'm talking about more.
I love it. Okay. So where's this going? Is this going to turn into something? Because I mean, if you're finishing up high school, right, you go to college, or is this going to become a career? Is this like, what's the plan?
So this was never meant to become like this in the first place. Like I said, it just started as something to have me not be bored. Basically, it was something to draw my attention away from just sitting watching random YouTube videos or TV shows. And it was just, it's become something a lot bigger than that. I really enjoy doing it. I especially enjoy doing it with my friends. And making this content for people, like I want to keep doing it. And I feel like one thing that's going to be hard is these next couple of years, because I mean, I'm finishing up my senior year, which means that I'm going to be applying to college, which is very nerve-wracking.
You mean you haven't already started? Like the deadline's almost here.
I have started, but I'm planning on going to a local university, and hopefully my goal is going to be kind of, they have a big broadcasting stuff set up. Like they have news vans, they have an entire newsroom, they have podcast rooms even. And so I mainly want to go to college to kind of learn how to use that equipment better. So that way I can build my brand more. And right now I am trying to build I don't really know how. So like I'm trying to make a new logo right now, and I'm also kind of building a character, like a mascot for my stuff right now, which I can talk about later as well. But
Great, yeah.
But that is going to hopefully lead to me getting sponsorships, because if I can make my logo and I can make myself look more professional, then that means that I can make sponsorship emails and I can basically just have a better look for my stuff. And hopefully those sponsorships will lead me to being able to make more money than I make now, so I can actually keep up with this stuff and make a living out of it instead of kind of having to abandon it, so that way I can actually have time for a job and then start losing my followers and stuff like that. So
fantastic. Okay, so Malcolm, I'd like to talk a little more personally about you if we can, rather than what you're doing. If you could go back in time, roughly 2 years, right, when you were first starting this, and you talked to little Malcolm, because I'm sure he was a little bit shorter, and you go, hey, little Malcolm, this is what's going to happen to you over the next several years. But here's the one thing you need to know. What is it you tell yourself?
That's a tough one.
Would he have listened?
Well, I think I would have been awestruck about future self talking to me, but I honestly don't know. I think it would just be to just stick with it, to keep up with it, and try not to fall off track. Be confident with what you're doing, that kind of thing. Because when I first started, I was totally like, I was having fun with it, but I was like, this isn't going to go anywhere. So I'm going to probably just abandon this at some point. So I kind of wish I was more confident and into it then, so I could make it better than it was before, put more work and effort into it.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, what is something that you're working to improve on in yourself today?
Right now, I'm trying to build more of a social media presence because, I mean, in this day and age, it's very important to have that, especially for something that I'm doing. And there's always these people who are like trying to get themselves off of social media and stuff like this. But like for the past year, I've been like trying to get myself into social media, but I can't keep up with it. I always forget about it. And so I have people like asking like, where are you? Like, what are you doing right now? And so that is something that I definitely need to improve on, is my social media presence and making sure people know what I'm up to.
One word: automation. If you only have a little bit of time, schedule a whole bunch out in advance. It doesn't answer like, what are you up to right now? But you can always make it sound like it does, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's kind of a fun question. What do you think it is that people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
I think people think I might be arrogant, or that I might think that I am the smartest one in the room, because like I said, I'm very abrupt with how I sit. Like I go straight to the point, and I'm very confident in what I said. Like I said earlier about how I'm very good at speaking. And so I think for some people I can come off as rude, or thinking that I'm like better than other people in the room. And I have been told this before. But when people get to know me, they understand that that's just the way I talk. And
I love it.
so.
Okay. Malcolm, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. How do people find you? Like, what's the name of your show? What's the name of your channel?
So all of my stuff is based around the phrase AFK. So away from keyboard, as I'm sure you know. So like my podcast was the very first thing I started. It's AFKast. My YouTube channel is just AFK YouTube. I couldn't figure out a clever name for that. And then I also have AFK Achievements, which is my Twitch stream. And the what I do, I heard everyone doing like whatever their name is, Army, but I wanted to go a different approach. So my name is AF Community instead. Still using the same AFK thing. So we have like a Discord, Instagram, Twitter. And I'm starting a Facebook page right now, actually. So
wonderful. So I have a small story about AFK, because you said, oh, everybody knows what that means. The first time I heard it, I was playing World of Warcraft. All right. So this is back 2004. I'm sitting there playing, and somebody's like, AFK. I'm like, what the heck is AFK? Because the first time you see an acronym, you don't know what it means, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, what is it? What does that mean? And somebody's like, away from computer with a K. I'm like, oh, okay, away from computer. And so for years, I used away from computer with a K, and still it's keyboard. I'm like, what? All right, but you were going to tell us about your logo. You said you had a story.
So right now I'm building my logo. I actually have the notepad here. So my dad is very good at art and graphic design. So he's actually helping me develop my logo. And he came up with this brilliant character. Their name is Click. And they're like a little mouse. So I'm sorry for those who aren't watching and are just listening, but that's like the little character.
Oh, that's so cute.
That is going to be, so that's kind of going to be like my emojis and stuff on Discord and Twitch, if I can start getting emoticons on there. And it's also going to be my logo. And we started making like little different outfits as well for Click as well. So like Assassin's Creed, you have Mario, then some Equal Justice stuff as well. So that's kind of going to be the thing that draws attention to my brand, and I'm hoping that it'll get me a lot of viewers and listeners. So
fantastic. All right, thank you for sharing. Unreleased, so I love it.
Yeah.
A lot of firsts on this show. All right, Malcolm, Thank you. Oh, before I say thank you one last time, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything we didn't cover or anything I didn't ask?
I mean, not entirely. I mean, there's so many things that I would talk about for hours on end. So I'm not going to list anything unless it's something that you want to talk about for hours on end. So,
is there anything related to like the business side of this, turning us into something, marketing yourself, promotion, maybe like some piece of advice that you've had that like, oh, this worked for me?
I honestly do not know. A lot of the stuff that I have done has been self-taught I've taught myself to do, I've looked up. So I'm still trying to figure it out for myself. And I honestly have no marketing advice. I'm terrible with that stuff. Like I said, I've been trying to get into social media for over a year now. But yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, Malcolm, thank you so much for coming on with us today. We genuinely do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good. It was a fun interview.
You started off a little cold, I'll admit. Now you're smiling. So, all right. Thank you again. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.